Why would God give us a law that he knew we couldn't keep? Have you ever wondered that? It was such a great question. I have a cute little dachshund. Miniature dachshunds have very short legs, about 4 inches long, but she can jump. She can, she's 2 feet long and can kind of go vertical really well. Imagine I'm holding a treat and I say, Sophie, jump, jump, jump. And you're watching this, and you're watching Sophie, jump. And then after several minutes, you realize, I'm not going to lower the treat. Jump, jump. What happens to Sophie? Yeah, what happens? Eventually, what does she do? Eventually, she just stops trying because she realizes, oh, she's not going to lower the treat. Okay, is that what God is doing? Love me more than anything. Jump. Don't bear false witness. Don't steal. Don't commit adultery. Jump. Jump. Don't covet. Jump. 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 Let me ask it this way. If all of us right now said, from this point forward, I'm going to love God with all my heart, all my soul, and all my strength, like he commands in his law. And we all just made that desire right now, and we walk out the doors after the seminar, how long would we last? Jump, jump, jump. What would you think of me if you were watching me and you knew that I wasn't going to give Sophie that treat? You would think I was cruel. Is that God? Is he cruel? Why did God give a law he knew that we couldn't keep? I think there's 3 reasons. The first one is to show that we're all helpless. The story that helps, of course it's a fictitious story, is that there's this man and he looks so despondent. He's on the road and this little traveler comes along and sees that he is very despondent. And he says, why are you so despondent? He said, I want to go to heaven and I can't. He goes, oh, I know just what you need. I have a ladder for you. Here you go. And he gives him a ladder that has 10 steps on it. And so this man looks at that ladder with the 10 steps. He says, I can't climb that. And the man says, the traveler, you haven't even tried. You at least need to try. And the man says, I can't. He goes, you're helpless. You're helpless. So he goes on. The next traveler comes along and he says, why do you look so despondent? He goes, I want to go to heaven. And did that man give you the 10-step ladder? No. You need this ladder. It's twice as easy. Only 5 steps. And you can get there. And the man says, I can't. He goes, listen, I've made it really simple for you. You just need to try. I can't. He goes, well, if you're not even going to try, he walks off in disgust. So a third fellow comes by and he says, oh, I know, those 2 guys gave you the ladders. They were all wrong. Here, he gives him a hammer, he gives him wood, he gives him nails, and he goes, just build your own ladder. It'll get you there. Just do what you think is the best way to get there. The man looks at him and says, I can't. He says, listen, it does not get any easier than this. Build your own ladder. I've given you everything you need. I can't. The man walks off in disgust. Well, you know what the problem was, right? The man was paralyzed. It did not matter what ladder he had, whether it was the 10 Commandments, the 5 Pillars of Islam, or a do-it-yourself kit. I'm not saying that all religions are equal. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is all religious systems that we try to measure up to span that separation that we have from God don't work. Why? Not because of the system, but because our default is set on no and mine. The problem is in me. So the standard up here shows us I can't do it because in me, it's not the desire. Listen, if knowledge was our problem, the self-help section, we would all be perfect, right? Someone said to me, it's interesting, humans are the only ones that can actually know what's good for them and still choose not to do it. Listen, for me, if you said, Leiann, this diet, if you keep this diet, you can get to heaven, I would still fail. Is that not every January? These are our goals, and every February, jump, jump, jump. We can't do it. God gave his law to show the standard that we are helpless and can't measure up. The second one is to show that we are guilty before him. And then the third is to show that we need cleansing. Can you see this? It's kind of small. This is a little mirror. Imagine that I wake up, want to check the little mirror. I've gone out, so I look and I go, oh, there's a little dirty spot right there. I just need to clean that off. Well, that's ridiculous, isn't it? To use the mirror to try to clean the dirty spot. Why? What's the purpose of the mirror? The mirror shows up the dirty spot. Folks, the mirror is always bad news. Because it can never do anything to fix the problem. I saw this picture of a bathroom, and you could see the sink in the picture, and right where the mirror should have been over the sink was stenciled in big words, "You look fine." Isn't that what we want the mirror to always say? You look fine. And what God has told us through the law that he gave to this nation, his people now, he is telling them, you are not just fine. And jumping and trying hard and having good intentions will not close the gap. It cannot fix the problem. You need cleansing. Now, at the same time that they are worshiping the golden calf, you see that picture right there of the tabernacle? God is giving the instructions to Moses on the mountain, Mount Sinai, for how to come to him and worship. And it's through this tabernacle. And again, what we see is the very first thing in coming to God was an altar where they had to bring a sacrifice. Do you see this theme here from Abel? From Abel to the ram that was caught in the thicket, to the Passover, and now God is telling his people, this is how you come, and at this altar, this is where the sin that you have not measured up to the law is atoned for. God told his people that were in the wilderness at Mount Sinai that they were to be a kingdom of priests. They were set apart to be holy to the Lord. They were to be able to distinguish between the clean and the unclean. So we said, okay, the Bible is a book about life and death. They've been spared from death at Passover. What is he telling them how to do now? This is how to live as my people. He's giving them these instructions. This is how I want you to live. I want you to be able to distinguish between things that are clean and pleasing to me and the things that are unclean in the nations around you. Now you see the map that we just passed, the map that's on your notes right there? He specifically says in the book of Leviticus, I do not want you to practice the things in Egypt that they had been familiar with. They had brought idols out from Egypt. He wants them to let go of their idols at Mount Sinai before going into the land. But the land, the inhabitants of Canaan, remember that 400 years he said the sin of the Amorite is not yet complete. From the time that the Canaanites had first met Abraham, 400 years before, this righteous man, all of that society, or let me put it this way, Adam's apple in Canaan had become rotten to the core. It was as rotten as it could be. Who owns the title deed to that land? Who made it? Well, God made the land. He can tell who lives on the land. And he has now said, the inhabitants of Canaan, because of how they've lived for these last 400 years, they're as rotten as can be. I'm going to wipe out that uncleanness. And he tells his people, do not imitate their practices, or I will do the same to you. I will take you off the land. God has the right to say who gets to live on the land. And he has seen everything that's been going on in Canaan for the last 400 years. So he's telling his people, don't be like in Egypt. Let go of your idols that you're familiar with. And then these practices, I do not want you to get involved with. I want you to be able to distinguish between the clean and the unclean. And then I want you to bring the nations to me. That was what that meant, to be a kingdom of priests. What was his appointed way? The acceptable sacrifice at the acceptable place. Now, this agreement that God made was not only a marriage agreement, it had terms and conditions on it. And this is all the end of the book of Deuteronomy. If you have a legal contract, you know the fine print? I know I have some lawyers in here. What happens if one party does not abide by the terms and conditions? What happens? This isn't the promise cards. The promise cards to Abraham, who made those? Who made that promise? God made the promise by himself. The title deed was given to Abraham and his descendants. Now we have the nation, but living and enjoying being on the land was conditioned now on their obedience to the law, God's law. When he tells them, be able to distinguish between the clean and unclean, don't do these practices that they're doing in Canaan. If you do, I will remove you off the land as well. Well, we know what's going to happen. We just said it. Jump, jump, jump. What happens? Are they going to be able to keep the terms and conditions? So what's going to happen?